Living out in the country has its perks. Quiet nights, star-filled skies, and enough space to do as you please. My land wasn't under any HOA jurisdiction, which is exactly why I bought it. But apparently Karen, the HOA president from the subdivision across the road, didn't like that. She'd show up uninvited, clipboard in hand, trying to enforce her rules. Trash bins, mailbox height, grass length, you name it, she claimed authority over it. Every time, I reminded her, Karen, this isn't your HOA. You have no power here. But Karen wasn't the type to let facts get in the way of her control. One day, I got a certified letter in the mail. It was from the HOA's lawyer. Apparently, Karen had convinced the board to sue me for non-compliance with neighborhood standards. They wanted me to tear down my barn, repaint my house, and start paying HOA dues. I almost spit out my coffee laughing. I called the attorney listed on the letter. "You're suing me for living outside your HOA?" There was an awkward pause before he said, "My client insists." "Well, your client's about to learn a hard lesson." See, I had an ace up my sleeve. A few years back, I bought up the land surrounding their subdivision, including the green spaces, the access roads, and even the drainage easement that funneled water off their streets. In other words, the HOA depended on my property to function. So when Karen dragged me into court, I showed up prepared. She strutted into the courtroom with a stack of violations she claimed I committed. Her lawyer confidently rattled off her demands. Then the judge turned to me. "Sir, how do you respond?" I handed him my deed. "Your Honor, my land is not part of the HOA. Here's proof. In fact, the HOA is encroaching on my property by using roads and easements they don't own." The judge flipped through the documents, then looked up at Karen. "Is this true?" Karen stammered. "Well, technically, but..." "No buts." The judge cut her off. "You can't sue someone who isn't in your HOA. Case dismissed. And frankly, ma'am, you're lucky he hasn't sued you for trespassing." Karen's face was as red as a tomato, but I wasn't done. The very next day, I sent the HOA a formal notice. Effective immediately, their use of my roads and easements was revoked. If they wanted access, they'd have to pay me rent. Triple what Karen had demanded in bogus HOA dues. The board panicked. Without access to the easements, their streets would flood within weeks. Without use of the private roads, half their residents couldn't reach their driveways. At the emergency HOA meeting, neighbors were shouting at Karen, "You sued the wrong guy. Now we're all paying for your stupidity." Within a month, the HOA was forced to sign a rental agreement with me. Every household in that subdivision now pays me, not Karen, a monthly fee just to keep their neighborhood functional. And Karen? She was voted out of the presidency in disgrace. Last I heard, she moved away, unable to face the neighbors who blamed her for turning their HOA into my tenant. So yes, Karen tried to sue me for living outside her HOA. 3 minutes in court was all it took for me to shut it down. Legally. And now, every time I cash those rent checks, I chuckle. Because in the end, Karen's HOA doesn't own me. I own them.